you don't have it, it's rough.
Absolutely. It's fine.
Yeah. It's fine. Everything's fine.
Everybody.
You, Bryan.
My favorite part about small towns, like Smolsas, this would go for you too, because I met a guy today who was like, I think I know that guy.
Did you invent that word, Smolsa?
No.
Smolsa's a real thing.
Smolsa.
So, like, everybody's 6 degrees of separation in Tulsa. It's
how
like
old are these people?
Like 3.
They're our age. People created that from everyone that
I feel like they're
lived here
20.
forever.
Never heard that before.
Exactly.
Smolsa?
No, dude. I
was this.
I'm here.
I was this year's old when I
I was today. No, Smolsa's a thing, dude.
It makes sense.
Smolsa's a thing.
My point to that is what I was about to say to Kellen is it's James Redman. I don't know if you know James. He's part of our equity group.
I know his
Great guy.
dad.
I know Tim.
Yeah.
Different guy.
See how we're getting younger? Like he keeps hanging out with 20, 30-year-olds.
James, I'm sure he's Gov's like really good friend.
I've met
Met
him.
him? Okay.
I've talked a lot more with his dad.
That was the point. He was like, "Oh, the guy with the beard, doesn't he help like really hardcore dudes?" And I was like, "Do you think that because he has a beard and he looks big and strong?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I go, "No, that's not all he does."
I'll take it.
But that's small.
Yeah,
so
bro.
like, everyone thinks they know somebody else because of someone else's opinion. So my point to him was like, there are people that think I'm really mean. I'm like, who?
Well, it's also just everybody in Tulsa is like 3 or 4 degrees of separation. Yeah. Like, this person who knows this person who's best friends with this person.
Well, all my pictures are straight faced, because I don't want to Olin Mills every picture. And they're like, he looks mean. Like, no, it was straight face pictures.
I think you look constipated, but that's a different topic.
Constipated?
I mean, just different people's opinions.
On his head. Just on his head.
That's what happens when people judge each other off social media.
Hey, well, and that's what everybody does, right?
Yeah.
Everybody does that. Who doesn't do that, Thad?
I didn't say anything.
In our world,
everybody judges people
in
on
our
social
world
media.
today, whether we're talking sales, we're talking online dating, we're talking any concept, people look at a picture or they hear one conversation or one comment and almost every amount of their opinion of someone is just kind of calculated through this weird algorithm in our brains. And then all of a sudden you help tough guys out. I'm like, he helps tough guys.
And because Bryan knows this, he wore skinny jeans to the prison last time we ministered.
Hey, they loved it.
We didn't love it. We're like, really? That's what you chose to show your ankles while we're at the prison?
I didn't get patted down.
He was with us, so it's a we.
No pat down for me. They could already tell.
Because everything, everything was on display.
AirPods, car keys.
And it's cold in here.
Yeah. So pants aren't super full. Well, I lined up the jeans for you.
Hey, speaking of, like that is the nicest of all of us by a country mile. Like, it's not a competition, but if it was, you'd be way over here and Bryan would be way down here, like who's genuine and nice. He gave the officer, like, having to write down his shoes and everything, such a hard time. She didn't like you because you were asking all kinds of questions.
Oh,
the
me?
search?
Yeah, he got like all
She didn't
bucked
make me
up.
take nothing
I was like, are we good?
She was like, "Come on
no,
in,
take your
son,
shoes
you're good."
off. And I was like, okay, here's my shoes. It's like, but yeah, I was.
He didn't like being told what to do. Like, it turned into a different kind of Thad that I'd never met before. Just taken to a prison.
It's
We're
fine to
gonna-
take you to a prison. Yeah, whatever.
So for the Shark Tank we do for the guys coming up at our in the prison ministry thing, we're going to do play a joke on Kevin. I think I'm bringing Kevin that day, and I'm going to act like he's having to get like shoes off, pat down the whole thing, and his assistant's going to go along with it. We'll just see how long. His picture's on the wall.
Who, Bryan?
But surely no Kevin.
No,
Kevin.
the assistant, Bryan.
No, not Bobak. He's got a person that travels with him all the time.
Oh.
We're gonna see if
Traveling.
we're gonna see how
okay.
far he'll get to where he starts getting weird about it. Like, take my coat off, take my shoes off. Like,
I'm not missing that day.
it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I'll count me in on the van on that one.
And he'll do it because he's nice enough to do it, but it's gonna be funny. So, we're jabbering here per usual, which is fun. People like the jabber.
Do they?
Did you know that?
I think it's because I sneak in the real jokes about Bryan that are 100% true.
Hey,
You think that's what it is, Thad?
100% not joking. Just
Bring 'em on.
truths, just honest. Honest.
It doesn't bother me none. I like to pick back and forth. I think the people like it too. We get a lot of comments on some of the craziest nonsense that we're saying. I'm like, we just had a really good show in the comments, like some nonsense about your stupid jeans comments. And I'm like, that's what you got from this? We were like, don't masturbate. And what you got from this was my silly jeans.
They
So-
are. I mean, you wore them to prison. That's on you.
Kellen's not in the dudes today.
You know,
He's
I
not in
think.
the hey dudes.
I think what it is. Well, yeah.
He worked today.
Jason's
apparently.
here. I went to the gym at lunch, and I didn't want to switch shoes. It's called anticipated laziness. But I think part of that, Brian, is everybody's over, because we talked about social media. They're over perfection because it's not real.
Right.
Like everybody struggles with not being themselves anyway. And so when our goal when we did this was we had some cigars in a fire pit and things happened that benefited all of us.
Right.
Was to bring that. How do we bring that into a podcast? And the banter is part of it. If you keep the banter out, it's all scripted. And knowing Brian, since he decides what we're talking about 4 minutes before we go live,
This is very true. This is very
we're
true.
never gonna. I'll even argue with you for like a week, and he just goes silent and starts talking about random stuff to not answer the questions.
Well,
It's a talent.
You know what's really random? Like, I was in LA all last week, and I came home, and I thought I was going to see stars. You know, I was on Sunset, I went to Hollywood, went to all these places. It wasn't until I was in the airport coming home that I ran into a star. You guys know the Ron Perlman?
yeah.
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 He sat
Yeah.
right in front of me.
Oh my
And
gosh.
It was cool, and I got proof that I showed it.
Is he that big in real life?
Huh?
Is he pretty big in real life?
Yeah.
Hey.
There's my proof.
He played. Didn't he play the Thad in
It's
Avengers?
his shoes.
That's the guy that played
Thanos.
Thanos, right?
I didn't want to be that
big.
guy.
He played Thanos,
No,
I thought.
that's
I thought that was Hellboy guy.
I thought it was too.
Not Bronson. Sicario guy. Sicario.
What's the internet say, Thad?
The internet. Oh my gosh, he's got lots of films.
Yeah.
Wow.
Good gosh.
That's Hellboy, right?
Yeah, that's Hellboy.
And that's not Thanos, though?
No, Thanos was.
Golly, it looks like
He was in
Dad
Sicario.
Thanos in real
He was
life.
in
For real.
Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was.
He's a mean dude in that show.
Huh.
But it was cool. You know, somebody came up to him as I was getting ready to ask if I could get a picture, and he's like, "I don't do pictures." In the airport." So
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Jason was right. That's the guy right there.
Y'all just tell him what you do for a living. Be
Josh
like, hey, I do
Brolin?
this. Yeah.
We talked.
Josh
That's cool.
Brolin. Yeah, he's
Brolin.
right. Josh Brolin. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Why do they kind of have some similarities, but nothing
not
alike?
even a little.
Yeah. I don't know why I did that.
What are you talking about? Well, they haven't
Roman's just
done
like
that-
a-
that-
They're both
He's a
guys.
big dude.
They're both guys playing weird parts.
Just guys playing
They
dudes
got
that are colored
square-
skin,
square
crazy
face.
colored
Fine.
skin, red. It's
That's what it is. Brolin looks like the other guy with his Thanos face
Yes.
on. So maybe that's what I'm seeing.
He was coming
So-
here. He's filming
not
a
Batman
movie in
origin.
Broken Arrow called Horrified.
Why do
Yes.
people,
I've been
when is he
seeing it.
coming?
He's here now.
Why do people come to film in Tulsa in August?
It's at the
And then hate their
hotel,
life.
right?
It's at the Broken
Because that's
Arrow.
what the Rock.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what
yeah,
Rocky
yeah.
did
He was
too.
telling me
Yeah.
that all the tax credits that Oklahoma gets
Yeah,
now.
Kevin changed the. It's a movie. They made it a movie.
Yeah, but
Stallone.
like come in October
Well,
or like November
Stallone
when
came-
it's not like a million degrees
Well, I think they
outside.
worked around
Stallone came during
schedule.
Suckfest too. No, he
Stallone
even
did
he
the
even
same thing. He came
commented
here
about
for
it.
tax credit.
He said he doesn't love being here at that time of year. Stallone.
Oh yeah.
He commented.
Yeah.
He said it was just miserable.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
I mean, real feel today 109. Like here we are.
You know,
Right.
it made me think a little bit different. You go back and
Really
watch
deep.
Rocky, where he chose to go out in 3-degree weather with a log on his back and run. He's like, I don't like the temperature in Tulsa. You're like, bro,
He was also like
feel like
a
I'm
solid
getting
40
cremated.
years younger
still,
at that point.
still,
Like,
it's
You guys
Rocky. You
know in
gotta be
Rocky-
Rocky till you die.
in Rocky 1, Stallone didn't have any money. They finally got that, the script sold. Had no budget for clothes or anything, so he wore only the clothes he had. So the clothes
Yeah.
he wore in Rocky 1 is what he had in a suitcase. And they had no licensing in Philadelphia, so all the daytime and nighttime footage they took were jumping out of a van and then leaving because they couldn't have licenses. So they had
I
to
think that's
keep
awesome.
going, moving around. So
they just had to hustle. Like
when he
hustle
was
make
here,
the movie.
when he was
That's why
here
he's
doing
running
this,
most of the time.
yeah, they were going from scene to scene. All the interiors were filmed in Los Angeles, but when he was here doing that show that he was
Tulsa
doing, he
King,
was
yeah.
telling us about that, and I was like, yeah, I actually heard that on a documentary. And they came here. It was one for the tax credits, but also something that our state is giving them now has something to do with we actually pay them some kind of grant to film. It's like a business deal, yeah, with DiCaprio and all them. They did
Yeah,
the
that was
same
cool.
thing.
I went up to Osage when they were filming it. That was cool.
That was a great movie. Did you see that movie?
It's on Apple TV right now.
Killers of the
Killers of the
Flower
Flower
Moon.
Moon.
Good flower.
Yeah.
Based on some Native American.
It's like based off
history.
real stuff. Like right before like the FBI like took off.
So
pretty
very
That's huge
crazy
for the state.
concept.
There's not a lot of stuff going on in Oklahoma
Yeah.
I mean, the Thunder's the biggest thing ever now.
Well,
and then,
clearly.
well,
World
but I mean,
champions.
used to and nothing against female basketball, but it was female basketball. Like the biggest thing happening in our city was the WNBA game.
Yeah.
And it got half turnout. Now we have a.
Can I make a weird comment about the WNBA?
Sure.
I mean, you're ready.
Dun, dun,
You're
dun.
ready to get canceled right now.
Are you
You're
gonna make?
ready.
Are you gonna make a logical comment about them not making any money?
Hey,
Right? But
it's
like,
yes, it's
Yeah.
fine though.
yeah,
They're
You don't-
wearing
you
shirts
don't-
the other day saying "Pay us what we're worth." Can you imagine being a part of a company that's never turned a profit ever?
If you pay them what they're worth, they would be paid.
Negative. Yeah, I don't. It's fine. I have no problem with it.
That's what happens with bad marketing. They
I
could
will
have said
say
something else that would have made a lot of
over the
sense,
last
and they
like 4
chose a very
years,
poor phrase.
the WNBA has gone from kind of here to like here in viewership. Like,
Well, and-
but
That doesn't
still hasn't
equate to
still
money.
hasn't turned a profit.
Hey,
Only
this'll-
because Caitlin's
hey,
whipping
right.
asses.
This is going to be a lot more interesting
She's a-
once we
she's
get
a
Jason
monster.
involved. But
She's a
hey,
beast.
this will be a good transition. Jason just said the word victim. Like, here's the deal, too. If you want people on your side, quit being a victim. Quit being so daggum selfish. And all of their messaging, and the NBA did part of it, too, with some of their stuff, it's all about me and what I should get. Nobody's got your back when you talk about that. If you're not about something bigger than you, the general public's kind of just going to squash you.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't like it when it's almost like a rain fest of crying about do this and do that. And it's funny because the NBA has made so many rules about like just being okay with everything. They're going to be okay with everything. We're going to be so diverse. I don't know. Being diverse doesn't mean accepting everything, right? I mean, we can be inclusive and be open to everyone's thoughts and opinions while not agreeing with everything.
Well, I think, no, you can agree with everything. You just need a shirt that says that I don't have an opinion. Like I'm a doormat. Like
I'm gray.
Yeah, I'm gray.
All gray.
Yeah, I'm all gray.
Yeah.
No, that's why we just need shirts to say free hugs, bro. Because then you
Well,
don't have to have opinion. You just
First
got
of all,
hugs, bro.
before we go hard, condolences, Ryan Sandberg,
Yeah.
the best
Oh,
second
yeah.
baseman ever. I hate the
Cubs.
Cubs, but probably the best second baseman ever.
Yep. One of the only ones to ever win the MVP. So, yes, I would say
That's weird
best
for a second
of all-
baseman too.
Yeah, of all time, yes.
Well, that's huge on the Cubs. I mean, this means a lot to him. He's over there holding tears back. I
It's
promise
all right.
you.
Is that why you're not wearing black?
No, I wore my Cub shirt because
He
Ryan
slept
Sandberg.
in that. Yes, he slept in that. He'll wear it tomorrow.
I'm fine with it.
It's
I had
gonna
barely
go-
slept because my kids decided to be sick.
You're male. That's one of the other things in this whole great debate. You don't need to shower or wash that shirt for at least 4 days. It's just we can get by with it. It'll be fine. Just
Fine,
put,
just throw it
put
on
more
the back of the
deodorant
chair.
on.
More cologne on.
Yeah,
the
just put more
dryer,
cologne
just
on.
cover.
That's what my son does. He's like, I showered, Dad. I was like, I smell something. He's like, put cologne on.
Fifth grade,
Yeah.
fifth grade acts, baby.
So let's take a shift here. It's just I was just telling Jason and Tiffany before, every show has turned into a pretty special deal. People are obviously resonating. They're having questions. And the cool thing for us is there's some impact and some breakthrough taking place, which is what we always cared about. I mean, we've lived a weird life. We've made a few mistakes here and there. And to be able just to be relatable for people, but not just relatable, open. Like, hey, I'll share my mistakes with you, but you can share them back, and it's not the end.
But yeah, getting people to a place where they're accepting themselves is the start to freedom. And that's one of the things we talked about. And then also giving people resources that, again, we always look at the end result or what we think somebody has, especially with social media now, and it's not as amazing as you would have thought. We
Right.
both talked about that. And also the journey is not what you think, right? And so exposing any of that is a good outcome if somebody can kind of get ahead of the game there. Or, I always told my son, I don't think it's going to happen. Like a very simple example is, for anybody listening, if the stove's hot and it's going to take the skin off the end of your fingers, and that took you like a week of your life to recover, if we've walked through something in adults that's similar, like don't do it. Like listen and figure this out with healthy people or with counseling before it gets to that point. And that was kind of the goal, is to start helping people understand what it really took to get us some freedom.
Yeah. Well, let's shift into our guest as well, because I think we have a really cool tie-in from what we've been talking about lately. This one's going to veer off the normal road a little bit for people, but I think it's a concept people need to hear, kind of on the foots of having Paul Hutchinson here in town recently, and the
Hood.
movie.
Paul Hood.
No,
Oh, Paul
I'm
Hutchinson.
not doing Paul
for
Hood.
their-
Paul did the
Yeah,
movie The
yeah,
Sound
yeah.
of Freedom. They were here recently.
Yep.
And have you guys caught that movie yet? I'm
No.
sure Jason has seen that movie. Yeah. it's going to be a really good tie-in. But first, Jason Weiss works locally here at Tulsa County Sheriff's Office, and I'm gonna let him tell us more what he does. It's going to be better, but I know that as a part of his efforts at the office is going to be a lot more of an electronic, digital kind of resource to where you're not on the street really unless you need to be. I mean, you're behind the scenes working a process, looking for predator style situations, right? Am I close on that?
Yeah.
So we'll let him get into that. But also, I think something which is what we're going to steer into more today, that just happens to be a cool job that he has. Him and his ex-wife, I guess is fine to say. I mean, we're all divorced except for you. Get divorced. You guys get divorced. Catch up, Lord.
No,
you can remarry him.
I don't recommend it.
I'm watching.
Remarry him.
I'm watching you go through it, and I decline.
We're trying to keep the ratio even.
Yeah.
We're trying to keep the ratio even in this room.
I know Jason would agree. He has a great ex-wife. They started a program called The Demand Project a long time ago, a nonprofit. And so before we get into this, because I told you about this tie-in I have that I really want to get to. I
wanted you to unpack that.
Yeah, I want to hear
take back
his opinion. Why don't you clean up what I just said? What is your specific job? I mean, I kind of gave him a highlight, but you say it better. I've heard you introduce yourself before. What is it that you do on the day-to-day?
Day-to-day. Well, 5 years ago now, Sheriff Regalado asked me to join the sheriff's office because he didn't have anybody there that was proactively going after child predators.
Okay.
It was more of a reactionary. The patrol would go out, take a report, bring it in, and then a detective would work it. But there was nobody really doing anything proactive. And I have a history. I was with the Jinx Police Department. You know, like you said, the Demand Project. I've been around. I mean, I was trained by Homeland Security. Actually, the Tim Ballard, the one that started Operation Underground Railroad, that the Son of Freedom was made after, his trainer that trained Tim trained me.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, his name is HK, and I won't give any more of his name, but he's a Homeland Security guy, fantastic. So I've got a history. I had a history of that. So, but coming into the sheriff's office, he wanted me to be proactive and go after the bad guys. And so one of the hats I wear when I'm working is I pretend to be a 14-year-old girl. Yeah, which is it used to be way easier because I had a daughter that was younger, and so I would just whatever she was into, I was into.
Yeah.
It's getting a little bit more difficult now, and honestly, I don't have a lot of time to do that as much anymore because on the other side of what I do is state law or federal law mandates Snapchat, Facebook, any of these big, large platforms. They have to report any type of child sexual abuse material on their platform, and so once somebody does let's say Snapchat flags an account that gets shut down, they take that account and they send it to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, where they have people on scene and that will triage it basically.
Right.
They'll go through and find out what the IP address was. They'll kind of try and narrow down the jurisdiction. And then once they narrow down jurisdiction and it's in Oklahoma, then OSBI gets it. Then they do some more triage, and then they send out the cyber tips. So I will get a cyber tip. I've been working a lot of KIK cases right now, KIK. And so I'll start with a screen name, or I'll start with an IP address or a phone number, and then that's when my investigation starts. So IP addresses, I usually got to do subpoenas to whoever the provider is, whether it's Cox or Verizon or AT&T. And then I get subscriber information, so at least I have a place. It might not always be the same that person, but it's at least a place to start.
Yeah.
And then I start diving into like the residents, like looking at who this person is, find them on Facebook, and start, then once I get closer and closer, then I start doing surveillance. And then, once we for sure have our target, then I'll put together an ops plan, a warrant for the house. And then at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning, we do a knock and talk. And usually it's very unpleasant for the individual that has to go through it, but I'll pull them out. My team will go in and look for devices while I interview the bad guys, and 99% of the time it's interesting. The people that are involved with child pornography, they know that we're coming eventually, and it's really strange. It's a weird phenomenon versus going after the bad guys that are just chatting with, but that are chatting with kids versus the guys that are doing the child pornography, because they know that when they're caught, life is over because
They're cooked.
They're cooked. Yeah, they know that something's, that the jail's not going to treat them good. So what's interesting when I've had actual demons in the car with me.
Yeah,
like
right.
I interviewed a guy one time and he looked at me and goes, "I've been waiting for you," and then snapped back out of it and then started talking again.
Yeah.
The next day he took a shotgun and blew his head off.
Yeah, you know that's got to be. I mean, the way we believe, that's a spirit every time. I can't even imagine it not being. Earmark this too. And
but when I get them in to talk to them, before I forget my thought, is I'll get them in there, and when they get a chance to actually talk about what they've done, their whole countenance changes. They feel like almost looks like they're lighter and more.
I was going to ask that. Like, there's sometimes they have
now
some
they're
freedom.
not living in this darkness and this oppression. You know. People, when they're in sin, whether it's drinking or pornography or whatever, they live in a shame-filled bubble, and sometimes depending on what that sin is, it could be really oppressive. But if you're like, these guys are masturbating to child pornography.
Right.
Like, I've got a case right now where there's a guy raping a baby on a changing table, and people are masturbating to that. Otherwise, he wouldn't make that content.
It's got to be selling.
And so when I get them and I can talk to them and they confess, it's like they've got a whole new host of challenges because they're going to go to jail and whatever. But man, once they can release that, it's weird to see.
You're touching something here. See, we're not talking about just a crime. So much of the world thinks what we're talking about right now is a crime.
It's spiritual warfare.
This is spiritual warfare. What I wanted you to earmark, and something that I want to get an opinion on once we kind of dig in a little bit more. It's all wrong, all porn. We talk about porn a lot on here, Thad. You're over there Googling porn all the time, not the porn, but you know what I mean? Concepts and resources around it.
Yeah, I was like, what's
trending?
dude? Like,
What in the world is going on to where, again, it's all wrong, but we got to say this stuff, to where actual porn, normal porn that would be attractive to grown dudes, that's available, and you're shifting there. I don't understand that. That's the spiritual warfare for me that I think about. When he says he sees a demon, you and I believe that 100%.
Well, and that's what's hard, and I won't go way into this, but when we talk about get canceled, there's things that we can't talk to most anybody about. So Bryan and I were on a street in Brazil, and we don't...
The first house?
Yeah, well, the lady in between and the first house. And people are like, no way. So first of all, we're in a part of the Amazon where there's not a road. Second of all, there's a big festival that pays for the city's finances all year long. And we're where people can't get food, and the husbands either don't exist with 5 or 6 kids or they're out drinking.
Yeah.
And so we're in there, and the first woman, Bryan got a word and said, no, your husband abuses you. She started crying. In between the first and the second house, there was a woman that, man, she bore the weight for all this stuff, seemed really tough, and I asked her what she wanted prayer for. In the middle of this festival, her daughter disappeared. Somebody took her and probably sacrificed her. Then the 5th or 6th house that we're in, there's 5 kids, and I've got a picture. They're barely getting by, so we've connected the church to them. But this woman's selling her kids by the hour to men for sex to pay for food for the rest of the family, or they all die.
That happens in the U.S.
Yeah, and that's what...
I was going to say,
I'd like to go here.
That.
Well, and if anybody's listening, your stomach may turn, but we can't talk about it here because people literally don't have the capacity for the hard things anymore.
Oh, I understand.
Do you agree with that?
Oh, yeah. Like, I have never been to trial on a child pornography case because if the defense attorney or the judge or somebody that's on the bad guy's side sees those images, like I've had judges shut down their whole court for the day just because of seeing a snippet of a video that somebody had.
And they can't handle it.
They can't handle it.
Yeah.
And so the reason a lot of these cases don't go to jury trials is because they're going to show those videos, those photos to the jury. And you are right. That's some things, once you see it, you definitely wish you never had seen that.
And we talk about the hardest things, and you brought up spiritual warfare. Well, both in Brazil, we've talked to people, and we've said bye to things that weren't human looking back at us. And everybody's like, well, you can clearly tell by the eye socket and the change in the voice. And what Jason said was really important. When there's some freedom, you're talking to a whole different person, and it's not bipolar, and it's very consistent. I went to San Francisco, and I went to the absolute hardest parts of that city at night, drug dealers, cartel. So I was at a heroin tent. And then 100 yards away, I know this won't surprise you, there's the Mexican cartel selling fentanyl-laced heroin, and people dying all over the place, and encountered a lot of things that were not of the person I was talking to, right? And Brian, you ask how things escalate there. When we talk about spiritual warfare, there's doors. And so there's sin, there's unforgiveness, there's doors that are open that allow this thing we call the enemy to rule and reign and apart and grow. And he hates purity. He hates us, but he hates purity. And if I can get to a child, I'm still in all their purity at an early age.
Well, think about a couple of weeks ago, guys, when we started talking about masturbation and everyone was like, oh my gosh, it's so weird. And then the wife was like, well, I'm okay with it if he looks at my pictures. And you and I kind of perked up because we know that's not even real life. I mean, if that was real life in a perfect world and a man could only think about his wife,
good for him,
and have pictures, okay, maybe we're talking about something different. But what you're getting at too is why you and I, especially this late in our life, go hard against masturbation, because we're not perfect. I mean, Thad masturbates, we know that. Young guy, got plenty. Kidding, Thad. We're all guilty.
I just have to laugh at this point because it just comes to me.
We're all guilty. What we were trying to tell that married couple is, hey, we're not
today.
It's not. We're not saying you're going to hell for this. We're saying this is a door.
It's a door.
Well, that's what. So my wife and I had this conversation yesterday because there's a marriage falling apart right now, and she's counseling somebody because the husband's masturbating. Well, couple counseling sets, and it has nothing to do with masturbation. And I think that in every area, there's the dysfunction of humanity.
We're going to get muted by TikTok. I'm just letting you know.
I don't care about TikTok. It's freaking demonic too. So Thad over here, we're talking, right? And let's say Thad's masturbating, and everybody's like, "You got to quit masturbating."
All about that.
But we're talking about the actual, the actionable things, the things that we can see, and we're being judgmental. The judgment leads to shame. That leads to shackles from human. But it keeps me in this thing that doesn't give me freedom, because what actually may be happening is comfort. I mean, there was literally a pastor that would masturbate and went and got some heavy duty counseling. You know, he'd only masturbate after funerals. And it was tracked back some deep childhood trauma, and it was self-soothing. And so once he worked through the root of what it was, somebody cared enough to work through the root of what was happening as a child in this area of deep depression that you can't handle, that nobody was there for you, and he was completely free.
Well, these doors are what we're trying to, help men with. It's don't walk through that door. For some reason,
don't open the door.
There's something on the other side that seems to have, some stick to it. And so what I wanted to steer into with Jason here, Kellen, because there are so many different categories that we can attach to what he does. So their nonprofit, the Demand Project, is a cool system to where, well, because of your job, you kind of get to work through the process. So many people think because of that old show, Dateline or whatever it was, that your job isn't nearly as involved as it is because you watch a show and you think, oh, this just happened. No, there is weeks and months and maybe years of work that goes into this process before you actually get to that possible result. Well, so Jason gets to work that process, but then because of their nonprofit, they're able to at sometimes pluck people into their system to where they can work through a process of healing, therapy, creating a new future, and all that through the Demand Project. And so what I wanted to steer into, because we had Paul Hood here, Jason, what happened in Paul's marriage is that he had just decided money, cool stuff, all the things, and he was just out. And he got ego was there. He got cocky and arrogant and wasn't loving and no servanthood and cheated. And all of a sudden, the Lord began to kind of push on him. His wife's praying, and he figured out through ultimate humility, which was not his first go-to. And I've talked about this too. Humility was a problem for me until a couple years ago because I didn't understand what humility was. Humility to me was like helping poor people out or this and that. That's not really humility. It's an attribute. But a lot of people do good things for other people, but they're still douchebags.
Well, and they do good things for other people for themselves because of how it makes them feel.
And that was kind of me.
Yeah, it's for the name and lights. It's for so other people see my good works.
And sometimes you don't decide to do that. It just becomes a system you're in. And all of a sudden, you work a system. And so what happened with Paul is his wife's praise, and he has to come into this ultimate servanthood place to then turn his heart position to her. And so what I was telling you about, what I was thinking about with Jason, because he recently I was at an event he was at, and I heard him talk about 20 years ago or so, him and his and Kristen decided on this, like they wanted to pursue and help what you're in now. But what I thought is, and you use this term a lot, righteous anger. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jason, but this was my thought. That starts righteous anger to where it's like, I can't believe what I'm seeing. You saw something kicked this off. Somewhere along the way, and I would think early though, you had to also shift into servanthood to continue. Because you can be angry about something forever. You can only work out and rage for so long before there has to be more.
Yeah.
Tell us about something in your heart had to have some amount of servanthood towards this problem to continue the hard work, the challenges. I know you get pushed back a ton, so that you guys know, you and Thad, everything you guys think that's good in our world is actually getting pushed back all the time by people trying to make it harder.
Yeah.
Trying to prevent the system, trying to make their jobs harder. And it's crazy because it's like, can we all just agree that this is bad? And if it's bad, shouldn't we just do whatever we need to do to work on it? No. There's always somebody in the room that wants to make the system harder to work. So tell us a little bit about, where did servanthood start? I've got to think it was there.
Well, you bring up a really good point, because the resistance and the pushback that we've gotten are people that we thought would be on our side.
It's crazy.
And that's been the hardest part, really, through this whole journey of 15, 20 years that we've been doing this.
Yeah, I can see that in your face.
Because, I really expected at some point that I walk out of my front yard, to my car, and there's going to be somebody there that I put in prison and is going to want to shoot me or do something. But it's never been the case. It's always been someone that is on this side of the fight that has this, what's the lack? They have a lack mentality. And they feel like if he's getting $1, we're not going to get that $1. And so there's been a lot of that. And when you're pioneering something, like we pioneered the Demand Project in 2013, there wasn't any type of, well, this is actually before that. 2013 is when we started the Demand Project. But at the time, there wasn't a policy to work with victims of human trafficking if you weren't a shelter. And so we were having to pioneer something that wasn't even available. And the shelters are the ones that started to, kind of have a little pushback and stuff. And so, we got a lot of pushback there because we were doing things that, people weren't doing, but the only reason we were doing it is because victims were coming to us. And so the servanthood, I think, was sparked out of that, because the people that were supposed to be helping them weren't helping them. And then they were coming to us, and we're like, well, what we don't have a shelter, but what we have done, what Kristen was a master at, and what we started to really do from the very beginning, was create a resource directory where this church did that, this food bank did that, Catholic Charities did this, St. Francis did that, this therapist did this. So we were just combining all these resources that were already in the community and then serving that girl that came to us. And we'd wrap 20-some people around them, and you start to see the results. And that would be something that would keep us fueling and keep us going. You know how many times I've gone to the grocery store for a family, or helped move something for a girl that's had to be moved out of a house or an apartment.
And I want to say something when you're talking about the girl. What anybody listening to this is not going to understand. I spent some time with Jason, but I spent a lot more time with Johnny and some of the people that have worked at the Demand Project. Okay, so a young girl's been sex trafficked. She's been conditioned. She's got habits. She's got outlets. This is
survival.
They're in survival mode. This is one of the hardest individuals to help. And you have to have a service heart. Can you explain just a little bit about the mindset and what this does to them and how hard that is?
Oh, you wouldn't. Yeah. A lot of times you feel, I think people that just now start to get into this, or they have a heart for this, they think you rescue that girl and they're going to be so loving and thankful and grateful, which it's almost the opposite. Yeah. Because they don't know, they've been betrayed by the people that sometimes they love the most or trust the most. And then the system has really screwed them over, from law enforcement to social services to the public defenders or the lawyers. Somebody along the line has jaded them. And you talk about conditioning, you're right. They're conditioned to not trust. They're not, and then the person that's providing everything for them but using them is embedded in their mindset that I'm the only one that cares for you. I'm the only one that can provide your needs and your your things that you need to survive. So anybody else, you can't trust them. And what we didn't even realize too was there's a lot of addiction that comes from these girls, like sexual addiction that you would have thought there's no way that they've been raped, 10, 20, 30 times a day. We even had a kid out there that was she lost her virginity to dogs. And you're like, how do you even mess with that? And so it's a whole different mindset. They are in survival mode. And so, and some of them are they're self-cutting. They're doing all kinds of stuff. So it takes a literal army around each kid.
And so when you talk about serving them, Bryan, like Jason, they deal with these girls up to the point that they run away and go back into the addiction and put themselves on the street, and they've still loving them through it. So this is something that, and I don't think a lot of people understand the amount of effort, heartache, and energy that they're putting into this to continue to go.
Well, and I think about, I sit in a room and we have to deal with conversations that work in the same field as Jason does. And a lot of people can only do it for so many years due to the images you have to look at to write reports. And so my next question for you, Jason, and I know this because you're going to have more of a spiritual spin on this, to where in this room that I'm sitting in a few times a year, if I could just look at them and say, hey, there is an answer to this, and turn it spiritual, we could find freedom.
Yeah.
Because of mistakes I've made in the past, just being not the best human or husband or this or that in the world. I think about there was spiritual answers the whole way, but instead we just go numb. And the system doesn't have, there's no answer. I mean, even for law enforcement, you think about JC and FFR, the whole reason why we put a lot of effort in there is because fireman drags dead bodies out of house, gets a day off. Officer shoots someone, gets a couple of days off. There's no real trauma help. I mean, the resources are lacking. And so when I think about what Jason has to see, and he touched it a while ago, as the dog thing or the images, the videos, what's been the answer for you, Jason? And this is probably a family effort, but you've got to deal with the craziest stuff in the world. How do you get up tomorrow and do normal? How? I mean, what's the thing that keeps you from just losing it? Because even hearing the stories, I mean, I hear Tiffany over there, she's supposed to be quiet. Jason says something and it's just reactive. You're like, you can't. How do you do it?
I'll be honest, I still struggle with that.
Okay.
I mean, there's after my daughter was killed 3 years ago, there was about an 8-month period I drank a lot.
Right.
I had to numb myself, and I was still doing my job, but my 18-year-old daughter killed instantly in a car accident.
Yeah.
And so how I do it every day, for now anyway, how I do it to honor her, I do it to honor my daughter, and there's a difference between a calling and a passion.
Right.
I feel, me and Kristen both, at the same time in Colorado, we were called to do this. And so I think it gives you an extra layer of grace, of patience and perseverance through all of this, because you're right. I mean, normally people in my position, they'll cycle out every 5 years or so. I mean, I've had investigators that work murders look over my shoulder and look at a video or something. Like, show me what you're working on. I'll show them something. They're like, never mind. I'll go right back to the murder. But I feel, because it's my calling, and because I see the results, and because of honoring my daughter, and now I'm kind of reliving a part of my life too, because my wife now has a 5-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 12-year-old. So I feel like I'm helping them too.
Right.
I'm helping protect them. Because I tell parents all the time, especially on the side where the guys are chatting or doing things online to kids, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when that a bad guy will reach out to your kid. It doesn't matter the platform. It could be Discord, it could be Snapchat, it could be Instagram, Facebook, any of them. There is going to come a time where a bad guy reaches out to your kid. And if you're not prepared for that and you don't talk to them about it, the bad guy will.
That's what I appreciate too when he talks about a calling. You talk to Jason. We have our men in our men's ministry. We've talked about him coming out and talking, but he does a lot of educational talks. And so it's not just the time online. It's not just the Man Project. He's educating the community around. No.
Right.
This is how they operate. This is how they groom. This is what parents need to think. This is how they do it.
Oh yeah,
And
I'll
so-
even show actual screenshots from conversations that I've had, not just transcribed, the actual screenshots, so you can see the hello, all the way to I love you, and let's meet for sex, and everything in between. The emojis, the gaslighting, the love bombing, all the things that these guys will do.
Well, something this year at the gala that I thought was cool, you and I walked through together, was this, you know what I'm talking about. You guys did the experience
Walk
this
down
time. And I
technology
thought,
lane.
you know how hard it is to talk about this to people for they can understand it. That experience was cool because you could just see how it happens. It's almost like, you remember the nightmare that Guts did for a while?
Yeah, I got kicked out of that, but go ahead.
Ooh.
What are you kicking you out for?
It's a whole nother episode.
They think you were like,
and the rabbit trail will be
they thought
in.
Kellen walks into
they-
normal life looking like he's supposed to be in the freaking nightmare. So that's probably why I got kicked
They
out.
may have thought I had a demon, but I got kicked out of there, yeah.
You would play a great bad guy in a movie. Don't you think? Not bad guy like Jason's talking about. Like bad guy. Like,
cerebral.
just the guy, the bank robber.
Like a Lex
or-
Luthor type.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like Brian's saying that because I have a beard. You know,
It's
you're the
all
one that's mean
beard-based.
in your.
It's all beard-based.
I'm the kindest person on the face of the planet. You're gonna get into character.
Kicked out of the nightmare.
You're gonna get into character.
Punch
Yeah.
them? Like,
I
did you fight them in the nightmare?
I may have choked somebody.
Okay. See, that's why you kicked
They
out.
may have deserved it.
did you touch him? One of the characters?
I wouldn't say touch, maybe strangle.
The rat guy?
Yeah.
Everybody
He
hates
was
the
making
rat
he was
guy.
making a girl about pee herself, and I asked him to stop nicely twice, and then he stopped.
Man, they did
And
that for
he's
years.
not-
He completely stopped what he was doing.
Dude, rat guy's horrible. Dad, did you ever go? Were you even old enough to go?
Yes.
Dude, rat guy
That only
was a
ended,
trip.
That only ended like 5 or 6 years.
That's what I don't
Right?
like.
It only
That's
ended,
what I didn't like my
around COVID
20s.
time, right?
So I've seen Jason do at schools. I've seen a few of the presentations when he talks about showing the text messages. So where I would lean into now is you've got kids now again. I mean, you had kids, but now you're kind of going backwards a little bit, stepdad vibes, and you're almost back into talking to kids that are experiencing or could experience in some form the things you're battling all the time.
Yeah.
I'm there too. You're there too. Our boys play VR together, and we've got all the settings, we got all the things. But you know what we can't do is know that person that says they're someone
Is
no,
that
we
somebody?
don't know.
Yeah, I control the friend groups.
And so even through that, I mean, I've looked at that, Kellen. The only solution is no chat.
Well, and that's where I would turn it over to Jason is, so I've got an 11-year-old boy. I mean, if we're going to get into like, what does this look like from a professional's standpoint? My son and I are stopping and having those conversations about this person, why they would pose this way. He's very aware of what adults' motives on these platforms are. And that's one of the places we started is I'm involved in his gaming if he's going to game. And he gets time limits.
Well, they play this game, Jason, called Gorilla Tag. And to play Gorilla Tag and for them to actually have fun, the kids are talking to each other. They're enjoying each other. No different if they were at the park. And the crazy part is, in the sucky world we live in, is we can't just leave them be to play this game, for their, Maverick gets screen time or whatever he gets. So I count VR as screen time. And he gets to play this game. But I feel like I'm having to hover over him the whole time and ask him, okay, who was that? What's that? Or I'll hear him he'll say stupid things like, well, it's not stupid. It's like what I've told him to say is, hey, what's your name? How old are you? And it's like, why are we doing that? And I said, well, the reason why we're doing that, Maverick, is because sometimes people are so in their system, in their head, that they might just answer your question. And if they trip over themselves or they sound like they're lying or you get any weird feeling at all, you need to move out of that system and delete them, because you're playing with a couple of kids and then someone starts to act weird, we've got to turn it off. And what we're trying to explain to parents is it takes a lot of work. It's not just let them go. Just like a cell phone. You can't just let them go. We're looking at these cell phones all the time. We're looking at the apps. I put X Block on Legend's phone. I was talking to you about that the other day, and he was like, what's that? Well, the cool thing is I got to tell him, because he's 16 now, so one of his gifts was, give me your phone, we're going to download XBlock. What's that? Do you have it? Yep. Here's what it does. XBlock prevents images you shouldn't see. Why? Because sometimes things show up on your phone you didn't ask for, and it's a door.
Yeah, often.
And it's a door. And it was cool because he took it really well. But what's happening is, I've learned, because I need a lot of work at it too, is we get going in our jobs, we're busy, and we've got work and reports and this and that and our social life and our schedules. And we just think, oh, we'll just let them go on it. We can't just let them go.
And them being let go or monitored, do these predators at all gauge with certain questions how involved the parents are ever?
Oh, yeah.
That's a good question.
Yeah, because I like when I'm pretending to be a child online, they'll ask, is your mom and dad home? Where do they work? When do they work? And just ask those types of qualifying questions. Yeah.
And if they're free to answer those, that's a target now.
And if like in my case, I have a single mom, in my role, and they'll ask how involved she is. Does she check your phone and delete these messages? I mean, I've had guys coach me on how to delete messages and how to move from one platform to the next. Like, I've been on Facebook, and then they say, hey, can you go to Snapchat because everything deletes after you get out of the app and get back into it. So yeah, they're pretty savvy when it comes to coaching. But I think what you guys have done is the perfect model. Talking to your kids, create an environment in your home to where they can come to you and not feel like they're the ones that are to be blamed.
Yeah.
Because the bad guys, telling you, man, they're the master manipulators. They will say and do anything to get your kid to say and do anything. And that whether that's pictures, or some of these guys just want to get off and send their own picture because they get that thrill of, well, this is the first time this little kid has seen something inappropriate, or they want to meet, or get more content. There's a growing trend, especially with boys right now, called, and it's been around for a little bit, but sextortion. It's where somebody might pretend, it might be a grown man, but pretending to be a 13-year-old girl, and has pictures, and they'll convince this little boy, this kid, to send something inappropriate. Once he does that, then he's like, okay, if you don't send me more content, I'm going to take this picture that you sent, and here's your contact list. I got your mom's phone number, your dad's phone number, all that stuff. It's going to go to them, and or send me money. So what I've seen quite a few times now is suicide. The kids are like, I don't know what to do. I made a mistake. I thought thought this was a 16, 17, 18-year-old girl, thought it was somebody my age, and we were getting to know each other, but then it turns out to be a guy. So, but I'm telling you, it's constant conversation, and Bryan nailed it. It's all the time. You can't just have a one and done. It's got to be something almost continuous. Like, what'd you do today? What'd you do today online? Who'd you talk to? Just for them in the back of their mind to know that dad or mom has their back is going to be.
You're going to have a whole episode on that. I feel like that would empower men to just have those hard conversations, starting even at a younger age. I mean, I have littles at my house, so I got a 4-year-old and almost 2, and so I don't have those conversations because my kids aren't online. My kids their biggest worry in the world is what show are we watching later when my sister goes to sleep, kind of thing, and what are we doing this afternoon when dad gets home from work, and whatever. They don't have incredible worries. It's just what are we doing when dad, what are we playing when dad gets
One of the
home?
most impactful things that I do when I'm talking to kids, because my sweet spot is that 3rd to 6th grade. And so I'll talk to them about sending inappropriate photos and what that could do to their life and all the things. But then I transition into the bad guy. But I have a slide full of mugshots of bad guys that I've arrested. And I show them that mugshot, and I say, I want you to focus on one of them. And so they all do, and then I'll pretend I'll go, and I said, that's a knock at your front door. I said, you open the door, that's the guy that's at your front door. And they're like, oh, and I say, you going to let him in? No. You going to let him into your bedroom? No. You going to let him into your bathroom? No. I said, well, when you have one of these, or you're on your Switch, or on your whatever, and you're talking to people that you don't know, those are the type of people that you could be talking to.
Right.
And so you bring that reality of, it's not going to be just a cute girl or a cute boy. It could be that guy.
Yeah, you connect them with the real thing. That's good.
Well, something I've been telling the single dads lately, because, I hear from a lot of them just being in that situation is don't let them do any of this privately. No. You know, the VR is out in the kitchen, dining lobby area, like where you've been. We don't do phones and iPads in bedrooms. Mm-hmm. You know, Maverick can play in the living room, and that's the only play he gets. He gets to play on the iPad because it's a lot easier for him to see or hear something weird and just immediately come to me and be like, "What? Hey, what's this? This felt weird." If he's in his room, I just feel like he can get a little more immune to that accountability. He's not even aware he needs yet at 10.
We're all in the living room. My son just asked me too. I've got an extra computer, and you can do some stuff on a Minecraft game on a computer that you can't do on like a PlayStation,
right,
or a Switch, right? And I said, cool. As soon as we set it up in the living room, as soon as I put this stuff on, well, why? And I reiterate, he's like, oh, I knew that. But one of the things too, Bryan, that I'm doing with Cade, and we've talked about this. Because Mav's getting that age, is I start getting on like YouTube where they put inappropriate, like the whole TikTok thing. I'll make fun of TikTok really quick and they can screw off. Is they won't like these words that we're saying, but then on the back end of it, but on the back end of it, they're going to flood it with pornographic stuff as long as they can tell I'm a male to try to get involved. It's just
we're probably attacking ourselves here. I'm like. As soon as I get on my Facebook later, loaded dating apps, I'm like, 100%. Kellen.
Yeah, they don't. But that's
this is your fault, dude.
Well, I'm in the tech industry, so what I can teach my son is to start thinking like me. Big tech, you are a commodity, just like a pharmacy. They want you on the next thing, and they're going to do enough to cover their tracks. We're like, oh, you might be talking about child stuff. We blocked that. Hey, look, world, we're so good we blocked that while we flood it with all this stuff. It's smoke and mirrors, but my son and I talk about. Hey, we pause it and go, why are they showing this ad? Why are we doing this? Because he's going to be away from me too. And Jason, that's where I'm trying to cover with him right now. I know in the house we have things covered, but he leaves and all of his friends that don't have the same parents have devices. How do we think? And so he's learning to start shutting those things down.
I love that. Yeah, that's how my son was.
Yeah.
Because we had our rules and our guidelines and our boundaries at our house. And then when he went somewhere else, you don't know what you're going to get. And so we always talk about leadership and doing the right thing even when nobody's looking, and he would do that. So I'm grateful for that.
One other little I want to touch on a minute before we wrap up too is thinking so many people when they start thinking about sex trafficking and inappropriate this and that and the other, we think of girls.
Yeah,
it's like a girls industry. Well,
no, it's a lot of boys.
It's not. There's so many young boys that have been wrapped into this system because of the doors. I mean, it's what I was saying earlier. It's all jacked up, but it's at least kind of when you think of jacked up, it would be predictable to think, okay, man to woman. But now we're not dealing with just that anymore, not just that problem. Now we've got man to boy, woman to boy, all kinds of different things. And so this thing now has turned into everybody's involved.
Yeah.
And so I guess, Jason, when I start to think of everybody's involved, how in the world, I would have never even thought of this question until I watched that movie have you guys seen Sound of Freedom yet? I don't want to ruin it for you.
No.
I would encourage it.
Heard about it through the office.
It's manageable to watch. It's not going to give you bad dreams. They did a pretty good, they made that movie mainstream enough to where people can watch it and get the point without it being so hardcore that people just couldn't go to sleep at night. They definitely get the point across, though. But in this movie, really one of the targets is a little boy. And it's mind-boggling to me to think that could happen. So, Jason, when you get a case and you open the file up, it's either paper or digital, what's the first thing that goes through your mind on a new case? I mean, you don't know who it's going to be. You don't know the age, sex, or anything like that. After 20 some odd or more years of fighting this battle, what is the first thought? What's going through your head? Because you have a bad morning, you're late to work, or your wife got after you that morning, whatever thing like happens to us, but then you still got to go to work and start to do some of the most serious work there is.
For me, when I first get a case, that's when the watch, the stopwatch starts. That's when I know, okay, this guy's been doing this activity, and if I don't get him soon, it's going to continue. And so really for me, it's all business.
Okay.
I try to keep my emotions out of it. I've had enough emotions with this, from seeing infants raped to death, babies raped to death, like literally to death, to where they didn't have a breath left in them after the person was done to them. So I've gotten past all those emotions for the most part to know where it's business. I need to find this person. I need to find out where they live. I need to get my guys in battle gear and ready to go.
Right.
And so that's really the first thing that I think of. And I'm starting to see more boys in these child pornography videos. And the most disturbing trend for me right now is kids that are 4, 5, and 6 that know what they're doing as far as sexual stuff and enjoying it. That's been the hardest part. That's been the biggest challenge for me lately, is seeing, because I've seen so many rape videos of kids that are fighting it or screaming or calling for mom or whatever. Now I'm starting to see more of a transition to where the kids are actually enjoying it, and that for me is disturbing, because that's probably been since day one. They've been conditioned to do that, and what are they going to turn into when they get older? And so that's been a really big challenge for me.
Well, we've covered some pretty deep stuff. I mean,
It's
it can
real.
go a lot of different directions, and we started this horrible process of me getting text messages during podcasts when we started, with people wanting to ask questions, and I'm getting not one question can I ask, which is fine. I've got one question that I can ask you, by the way. I've gotten everything from cool shoes to I like Jason's tattoos to, I mean, stuff I can't even say. Dude, these girls are weird, Kellen, but I will ask this one, and Jason can't answer it, but I feel pretty comfortable knowing that he probably knows the answer. But someone I know asked me, they said, does he know the guy that owned the airport hangar in Jinx that kept women in there? And my response was, probably, but he's not going to tell us. But that's just the easiest question I thought that we could sit here and just all smile at each other and go, wow, that sucks. Yeah, he probably knows. But think, kind of as we end, dude, airport, Jinx, a good area. When you think of, we're not at a massage parlor at 31st and whatever. We're not at some weird place. We're just at right in the smack dab in a decent neighborhood by a golf course with normal people, right? That's what you would think.
You'd think. We did some ministry, and I think that's what happens when you get in the mud with people. We were down with City Lights. They did a prayer walk, and there were men getting out of the prison. And we prayed with a couple of them. And
San Francisco?
Tulsa.
Oh, okay.
One of them was desperate because his wife was being sex trafficked in one of the buildings right next to us, in one of the nicer hotels.
Yeah.
And we had to convince him to get a hold of the authorities and not go kill the people.
Yeah.
Or get killed, right? It happens in plain sight. It's all around. I think one of the most important things about this, we could dive into, there are fights worth fighting for.
Yeah.
If God's given you a vision, you have a vision for a reason. Stick with it, because it matters, not for you, for other people. But I think one of the other things is one of the most important things you can do is be mindful and pay attention to your family and educate them on how they use technology and where they go,
right,
and that there are actually dangerous people out there. I say the last part, Bryan, and this isn't any fun to talk about. I've probably walked with about 10,000 guys. Maybe not real close, but about 10,000 guys. A ton of guys in their 20s that finally told me, a ton of them finally said that they were raped at a certain age. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they're boys.
We're hearing it, yeah.
Well, just like Jason said, I want to go back. It seems odd, right? But what you don't realize, if something's happened to you on a minuscule level, it's just as deep, or a very violent physical level. If anything's happened to you and you're not telling somebody safe, you're harboring something in a door that should not be opened. And if you expose it to the light and somebody's safe, you are going to get a level of freedom and the start to freedom that you really need.
Right.
And so if somebody's listening and you've never found somebody safe, we go back to Safe People, the episode, to expose some of this to, you really, for yourself and your gifts and talents and what you still have to offer the world and the freedom you deserve, you have to tell somebody, because you're harboring something you shouldn't be harboring.
Yeah, trauma needs a witness.
It does. That's good.
Trauma needs a witness, and you need people that can walk with you through that.
Well, and
even if you haven't personally been through that,
right?
I feel like if you can still give some wisdom and some pointers and some guidance into helping yourself.
Well, and you can be, like you said, you can be the witness. You don't absolutely have to relate. It's nice for somebody to kind of understand where you're coming from. That's an added bonus, but exposing it and quit harboring it deep down in here is a great first step to freedom.
Yeah.
Well, and some of the men we walk through, Kellen, too, like Jason said, we may not have some expert answer, but what we've learned to understand is that God's in control. All these things have to happen that go on in our lives. Some of them we can't explain. I've got plenty of things where I'm like, I don't know. I just know God had that in his hand, and I just sat back and let him do it, because if I believe that he's real, if we believe that he's real, if he's going to heal that guy in the cigar room, if he's going to heal that blind lady, if he's going to heal men right in front of us, why can't he control the situations going on around us?
The hardest point we got, so Bryan, myself, and a interpreter that's also an evangelist named M, we love her to death. We got on a bus and bawled for like 2 hours. I don't know how heavy you felt when we got off that day. But you know what? Somebody's like, when you hear the story, you look at us like, how are you okay? Or you look to Jason like, how are you okay? Resource in the church got connected to that entire street that wasn't there before we walked it. And so it was well worth it. We just had to have that, because it was already, like Jason said, it was a great question, Bryan. You get the case. This is already happening. And so how do I bring resource in God into that?
Yeah.
I've got to get into it.
Well, they've got to know. We started talking about spiritual warfare earlier. People have got to know, when you kind of stick your finger in the devil's face a little bit on a couple of things, he's going to attack you.
Oh,
Well,
He's going to attack you.
100%. It all started, it's really important that you say that, because if you've got a calling and you know it's big, especially in this realm, you're going to be attacked. Yeah. We actually, when people get hired at the Band Project, we tell them, expect the attacks. When me, Kristen, and Clark, and Dewey Bartlett, and Chief Jordan, you can Google it. We declared war on child trafficking in Tulsa back in 2008, 2009. That's when the shit started to hit the fan. Mm-hmm. That's when it started to get really bad.
Someday offline, I'll tell you a story. But speaking of demon possession, there was a time when we had just gotten back from Brazil. I told you about where Legend. It had already happened at my home when I was gone, and then Legend came down, and the enemy told my oldest that he was going to destroy our family. It was the second time he spoke in 2 weeks.
Yeah, we got a call while we were in Brazil with Bryan.
And so when I think about, like we're saying, we're trying to tell these men, we speak a lot to men, Jason, just because, we're really talking to everyone. We just don't always, we're going to have to send women a lot of times. We're going to, move them to your wife or move them to different situations. But for men, you've got to know, when you stand up and you're taking back ground and you're doing the things you need to do to take care of yourself, your family, your kids, your marriages, or whatever it is, you're in for a fight. And it won't just be a worldly fight. I've gone through the last couple of years some of the weirdest challenges that I could have never predicted, that had to be enemy authored to try to stop me, because I believe in healing. I believe in salvation or freedom. And that dude wants to come at me with the most odd challenges. And I've had to sit there and go, God's going to take care of this somehow, because he's got to do it. He's got to do it. I can't do it. And so, men, we want you to understand that, like Kellen said, if you're dealing with something, if you've had something happen to you, come to us. We'll start with prayer. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pivot you to resource. We're going to try to get you into counseling, therapy. We got many options of people that we can give you information on. I prefer, and I think Kellen also would prefer, a faith-based counseling system. We want them to be someone that's done the work, right? Someone that's got the education and the things, because we don't discount what the world has done in the way of figuring out how to treat trauma. But it's got to be spiritual too.
Yeah, and I'll just be honest, like, you're operating without any power if it's not faith-based, because you're keeping everything in the mind, but you're dealing with a soul and a heart problem.
Right.
We talk about open doors, and if anybody's ever been tormented, they will look at you with they don't have to believe in God and say there's something there, because this isn't just in my mind.
Well, and clearly the world has no idea how to treat mental health. We're smack dab in the middle of making almost no progress. We've got to put some spiritual battle in there, because that's what this is.
Yep, you got nothing else to lose. Why not open up a little bit to it?
All right, so to the person asking about the hanger, Jason knows, and he's not going to tell us. So sorry, sorry. I don't know. Google it. Maybe it's there somewhere.
Kudos to asking. At least you asked your question.
Hey, none of the rest of them can be asked.
Take a shot. Yeah.
None of the rest of them can be asked. So thank you, Jason, for doing this today. I feel heavy just even kind of getting into this. I can't imagine working this system every single day and having to get up even on bad days. I'm so blessed on a bad day. I just want to surf eBay and drink Celsius. And our law enforcement, our guys that are doing these jobs, it's like we talked about Jason Weiss before. He's on the way to a date night. Phone rings. He's got to drop off his date and head to the thing, just like you. So the servanthood, the amount of sacrifice that you guys make is unbelievable. Thank you is never enough, but we appreciate it so much. It's unbelievable the job that you guys do. And in the climate we live in, having police officers as friends and you two, thinking about what you guys go through, it just really makes me mad. I get so sick of the pushback. You guys do the job that no one else wants to do. It drives me crazy. We can go on a rant on that all day. So you got any last comments before you want to pray us out for Jason, or do you got any
No, really, that's where I was at is if anything with what we covered, take this stuff seriously.
Yeah.
Like quit living in your comfort that you're offered here in your home and disconnect from your kids. But also if something's happened, expose it. There's some power there. And then, I want to pray over Jason, but also if you pray over Jason, pray over the homicide detectives in our city, pray over the men and the women that are doing these things that are heart-wrenching every day to make our city a safer place, because they really are giving more than just their physical effort to this.
I agree 100%. So anything from you that? Oh,
and I would add, and this took a lot of muster and a lot of humility and a lot of prayer, but man, pray for the bad guys. Pray for the guys that are doing this, because they got some darkness, and I couldn't fathom living with that type of demonic activity going on in my head. And another thing too is find purpose. As men, we need to find purpose, because every time I sit across the seat from a guy that I've arrested or investigated, very few of them have any purpose when they wake up. They are into anime, or they're in their mom's basement. They are smoking pot all the time, or they're doing some sort of drugs, and they can't keep a job. I mean, these men need to have a purpose, because men with no purpose become very dangerous. And I sit across from them on numerous accounts, and they're mostly cowards. Like they'll talk a game, but when I sit them down and I start talking to them, they start crying like little babies. And sometimes it's a genuine cry of like, I'm still a little boy. And nobody told me that I'm going to be okay, or everything's going to be okay, or let's go fishing, or let's do something. There's men out there that need to know that there's alternatives to porn. There's alternatives to the drugs, because it's a door. The pornography. How does somebody stumble upon child pornography? They don't. They got sick and tired of the normal porn, and it just kind of escalated and went to there. But man,
it's just like drugs. Like you start taking something, and then you have to have a better high and a richer high, and you go deeper and you go deeper.
You'll never be satisfied. Yeah.
And it's the same thing. It's the same thing with porn. It's like they got tired of the normal stuff, so they had to go hardcore, more.
It's crazy that we call it. The normal stuff. It's crazy that we call it that, but that's what it is.
You're right, and it's not a victimless crime either. Just because it's on a screen doesn't mean that's not a victim. What you're doing is fueling the demand.
Yeah. You know how many people, you said that, and I hate, one more, you said victim. Do you know how many people exist that look at porn situations or these massage parlor situations and think that it's just prostitution? Which sucks to say that, but prostitution at its base level might mean a person got up and said, I don't want a normal job. I'm okay having consensual sex for money. Horrible, but that's the original problem.
That's where we stay, what we think it is, yeah.
Yeah. That, when we get to a place where we're at, where we go, we wish we were dealing with that problem again, because now we're just sitting down and going to talk to a young female about, hey, there's more. We're not dealing with that, really. That's not even a thing anymore. Most of the porn you watch, someone is a slave.
Yeah, that's why you see
they don't own their self anymore.
They've been bringing a lot of awareness to a lot of these female quote unquote porn stars are committing suicide at crazy levels.
They're not free anymore. It's not the 70s or even 80s to where this person makes porn she does this job and lives in her own house somewhere and has her own car. No, they're property. They are owned by somebody, and that's just not regular prostitution anymore, which sucks. But it would be a way moderately easier problem to deal with than what we're dealing with now. So when Jason says victim and we're praying for people, this whole thing is an act of war by the enemy on our society
and all
on our head, our minds, and our hearts, and
it thrives in secrecy. That's where you guys and what you guys do,
Bring things to light.
walking along with these men, it thrives in secrecy. And so the more you can get people talking about it and exposing it and bringing that trauma a witness, I think, we can. You're not be able to save all of them. It's the old starfish story.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to solve everybody's problem, but it matters to the one.
Well, the cool thing about your purpose on this, though, Jason, is if you ever solved one more deal for the rest of your life, you saved a person, right? I like that part of the purpose, because a lot of times in life, we're not really making real progress, and they think, oh, we can't win this battle. Maybe not. But we can make progress, and when you make one progress, if he makes one progress, someone got saved.
Well, if he makes one arrest, he may have hundreds of people saved.
That's very true.
I've arrested
predators
people.
don't stop.
I've arrested people. The next day, I got calls from their biological family thanking me for getting the demon out of the house because they'd been raping and molesting cousins and nieces.
Domino
forever.
effect.
And finally,
Nobody's saying anything.
Somebody, I've given them a voice, and they are so thankful for that.
Well, just like that one, it's now on the it's all over the thing. I don't know if you knew this, that girl that was in that house in Owasso a couple of days ago, it was Crystal's cousin. I knew that. And the dude had been abusing and all of that to people. And it sucks to see people die 100%. But all of a sudden now, that person that obviously had issues, people can now, well, except for the one person because she's gone, unfortunately. But who's been saved now because he can't do that anymore. And it's sad.
And it's sometimes you have to intercede because I remember you guys telling me. I remember me telling you the story about the demon I had in my front seat.
Yeah.
Next day, he took a shotgun and blew his head off in his backyard. That same day, his grandma called me and said, "You can take my son off your investigation because he killed himself. And by the way, can I have the shotgun back?" It was the same shotgun my son used to shoot himself for the same thing.
Golly.
Yeah, and so soul ties, the things that need to be broken off that.
We talked about soul ties 2 weeks ago. Well,
yeah, but that's what blew me away. It was like the grandma called because the kid lived with grandma, was involved with viewing and distributing child pornography, blew himself up. She called me the next day wanting that same gun that her son used to do the same thing. She wanted that gun. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, Kellen. Man,
sorry to leave on such a
no. Hey,
It's real.
this is
what we committed to.
Every time when we started this, we kind of said we're going to talk about things nobody wants to, and it's been freedom though for people. There's been a lot of freedom, and I pray that someone can have some conversation with us about after this episode. So, you got a prayer stored up?
Yeah, I'm gonna pray.
Okay.
Yeah, Heavenly Father, I just thank you for the opportunity, Lord, to bring light into dark places. As hard as it is to acknowledge what sin capable of, it's capable of things beyond our comprehension. Father, and I pray that you use this message, the time and the gifts and talents from Jason, and the reality of what the enemy wants to do to give people freedom. I pray right now that everybody that has lips that have been not loosened, that you loosen them to come forward if something like this is happening to them or somebody else, and not keep it in the dark because they're fueling it. And I pray for all those hearts that are hurting right now, that they would not fall victim to shame, but if they're in a habit or in any kind of addiction with anything sexually, that this would give them the freedom to speak to somebody safe and break it and really get to the root of what they're dealing with. And Father, I thank you for the body of Christ. So many want to place blame on a good God for the things that you've called sons and daughters to do. I thank you that we're taking footsteps in those, that none of this be placed on you. You had a clear plan, and we are to walk it out and continue to speak as those that would take action and not have a victim mindset. The victim mindset in the body of Christ is what is crippling. Father, so I pray right now that you wake all those up that you call to use their hands and their feet to minister in their specific gifts and talents that may not be here, but also to begin to pray for our city, for those to be freed from darkness, over those that you've called into this work, and pray with a boldness, because we are not dealing with flesh. We're dealing with powers and principalities that want to destroy our families, that want to destroy our cities, and want to destroy our youth, and we come against that in the name of Jesus. Father, I just thank you again for this opportunity. I thank you for who you are. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. All right. Thanks you guys for listening today, and don't forget to
Get canceled.